Hello, it's Nikki and welcome to this 5-part series. It's a juicy one. As you can see, as I'm knocking my notebook, because I've got lots of notes to share with you today, a process that is practical, tools and thoughts and questions that you can ask yourself. And this is the stuff that I want to know. I am always intrigued and maybe frustrated, especially in business, when sometimes I want the breakthrough. I'm ready to go. I feel like I've been doing all the things behind the scenes and I just want to break through to the next moment. And so over this next 5-part series, I'm going to tell you the story of June 2020. And this is a month that sticks in my business mind because it was the month in my business that after how long? Nearly 20 years, things changed and things really shifted dramatically. And I want to tell you this story because it was so bizarre the way that it happened. And it was so unexpected. Yet, behind the scenes, I had been doing all of these things for a really long time. And actually, when I pieced the pieces together, it's like, oh, no wonder that happened, because you had been in preparation. But I think what can happen sometimes, and this is the reason I want to share this so explicitly, is that we rely so much on what is going on or what we perceive to be going on in the outside world that tells us whether or not we're ready. And this, like on paper, should never have worked. How old was I at the time? I was 38. I had a 4-year-old who was home from nursery, so no childcare. It was just the 4 of us at home. All of Matt's work had finished. It was unavailable. And I had a 9-month-old baby at home. My 4-year-old had only just started sleeping through the night, and my daughter definitely was not doing that. So in terms of the way that I felt, I didn't feel like I had capacity. I didn't necessarily feel like I could do all of the things. I was awake numerous times, 5 times a night. And there was that little thing, obviously I'm joking, of the pandemic. And when people said in March, I actually remember my dad saying this to me, like they think that this might go on till May, June. And I remember thinking, are you joking? No, surely not. Surely not. And so then to get to June and think, oh, wow, we are really still here. We're still in this moment, was a shock. But June 2020 was the month, that my business took a huge leap. Not just financially, although it was one of the best months of business of my life, and it was my best month up until this point. But in terms of what I sensed was possible, it was a month that I remember that lots of pieces suddenly clicked together. And that for me is so, it makes me feel emotional. That for me, I always endeavor to acknowledge, because there are so many times in life and business where you feel like nothing is connecting, nothing is, nothing is working, but it all feels a bit hard and a bit kind of clinky clanky. And this month I remember just so being in flow. And I really think about that time because, again, it shows that it's possible. So those months where I'm like, do I need to just give this up and like do something completely different? Having that month, it's almost like that comfort blanket that I go back to again and again. And I've had many other life-changing months since then, but that was really the first where everything felt like it was coming together. So let me go into parts 1 and 2 today, and then you can follow along for the rest of the series. Number one, if you make a commitment, and I do really remember doing this, I really remember writing a plan. I really thought about the kind of income that I wanted to create that month. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why I was doing that in a second. I really had to go all in. There wasn't an option. I was the only person in the house working. We've got 2 children. We had bills. We had commitments. We had to figure it out. And what I remember deciding is, how can I work with my circumstances rather than feel like my circumstances are the reason that this isn't happening? And when I operated from that place of the smoothest route to where I wanted to get to, that's when things began to fall in place, because I was working with ease. I was working with no-brainer solutions. I was working with simplicity. I was working with a sense that somebody could say yes because it made sense. It wasn't a nice to have. It wasn't a like, oh, that sounds lovely. I really thought about how I could be useful in that moment. And so when I was planning my day and planning how all of this was going to work, I didn't allow myself to get stuck in the trap of, oh my goodness, we're in the middle of this situation. Like, we've got 2 small children. I haven't slept all week properly. I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. And like I really, even though it was difficult at times, and of course I'm a human being and sometimes that very much came into play, I really tried to stay in that moment of being very logical, of A to B. What do I need to do here? And that sometimes involves you really giving yourself permission to be the operator of your soundboard. So when you think about your head, you will have like old stories that come up. You'll have limiting beliefs. You'll have what's going on in society. You'll have what people told you as a child. You'll have who are you now as, I don't know, say a mother or a wife or, somebody who's left corporate. You'll have all of these channels in your head. And I really had to connect with that every day and say, no, move that down. No, move that one up. I need a bit more of this today. And being completely committed to saying, this is my situation. It doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon, nor do I want it to in some of my areas in my life. So how can I work with it rather than force something else or feel like I don't have enough time or go into that lack mindset? The second thing was, I was 6 months into working with a coach for a year. In February 2020, I made the biggest investment that I've ever made in my business. And it was a year-long coaching agreement. And I am going to admit that a month into it, when we were in 2020, I suddenly thought, what have I done? Have I made a big decision? Have I made a really risky decision? And the thing was, there was no getting out of it. I had signed a contract. I'd made an agreement. So I had to find a way to make it work. And once I made that switch into, well, I'm doing this, it made me go, right, let me go all in. I showed up on every group call, every one-to-one, I absorbed every piece of content that was part of the resource library. I went all in. I literally was that A-star student, like, hi, I know, I'm ready, I'm on time, I've got my notebook and a pen. Probably a bit annoying, but I had to treat it like that because I had done that. And so this June 2020 makes sense based on what I had been doing that 6 months before of going all in. And the thing that I want to remind you is, when you want change, when you want a significant shift, when you want something to happen, it's not a case of you waiting for it to come in. You have to move first. And moving 6 months into, I am all in, I am ready for this change, I am welcoming it, I'm going to do whatever it takes, meant that it was able to come in because it was a match. It wasn't me just sitting on my sofa going, I really hope that I'm going to have the best business month and like hopefully like it will all come together. I was there, like, I am ready, I'm available, I am doing this thing. Also, there was something about making that huge investment in myself that actually faded away a lot of things that weren't in alignment with that. So nobody was asking me to work for free anymore. I remember that very clearly, where people are like, can I just pick your brains about this? I knew that I had done that work up until that point and was like, yeah, here's what I charge. This is what my hourly rate is. Also, because I had made that huge investment in myself, I was playing with bigger numbers. So I was putting out bigger numbers, and therefore I was welcoming in bigger numbers. And I also knew that I didn't just want to spend that money as like a lovely expense. I wanted to see what was possible in terms of that ROI. So if you are hoping that you can just start a month or start a next quarter or this next phase of your business by just jotting down a few things and writing a bit of a plan and not changing anything else, I invite you to think about things in a different way. I often think about this in terms of physical activity. So somebody who is training for the Olympics is different to somebody who is training for their sports day. I'm not training my kids, although their sports day is coming up. But if somebody is training for their Olympics, they are looking at all areas. They are thinking about how they can set themselves up for success here. And so if you want those bigger results or those more significant and like the Olympic style results, you have to switch from being in that sense of, I'm just kind of doing this, like if I win, I win. If I don't, no problem. You have to make that shift. If you are ready for more, if you want to work with me one-on-one, if you are ready to make some shifts, drop me a message, go to my Work With Me page on my website, and I'll see you back here for part 2. Lots of love. Bye.